Okay, welcome everyone to the Journey to the Cloud Christmas special. And this is our final event for the year of 2021. You're here with Matthew Brown, Dan Ray, Mica Hanson, Frank Falvey, Aaron Dan Mitra, and Ryan Schultz. And Henry. So together we're pretty much the Journey to the Cloud team. So obviously welcome everyone. We're going to start off with Mica to give her presentation. Mica, do you want to take the floor there?
Sounds great. Thank you so much. All right, so might as well share my screen because we're going to be doing some fun demo stuff today. So I'll get started. All right, so I thought it would be fun to talk about Excel because, of course, I love Excel. So why not, right? So the first thing I was thinking is that we could look at this Excel spreadsheet and look at how we could work with this and manage this in a way that's quick and easy. And some of the things I'm going to talk about today are some newer functionality that's been given to us from the good old Excel team. And we'll look at how this can make our life simpler and help us do things more quickly. So let's get to it. So this is just a big table of data that we want to take and kind of split, change, manipulate to reflect what it is that we care about most. So to begin, we're going to actually just click anywhere within this data. And I'm going to start by removing the columns that I don't want. One way that this can be done really simply is by using queries. And I think a lot of people don't realize that we have queries just built right in now into Excel. So we can just go up to our data tab and we can actually pull the data from this table or range. So when we do that, we can go ahead and select it. Excel is super smart, right? And it's going to see what we want to use as far as our source. And it knows that this is already a table because I've worked with this table before. But if it doesn't know that, it's going to ask you what the range is and if you have headers and all that good stuff. So now it's opened into the Power Query Editor. I no longer need that add-in that we once had to use, right? And I can just hold Control and select all of the columns that I don't want to work with. So I'm just going to get rid of some of these. I want to focus mainly on the movie itself and maybe the country that it's in. And then I'm going to get rid of a lot of this extra stuff. So let's say actually in this one, I'm going to make a map of this movie based on films. So I'm going to get rid of everything except for those two columns. So I'm going to remove the rows. I can just click at the top here since they're already selected, and I can choose and close and load. Now, if I wanted to, I could always close and load to a specific worksheet, but in this instance, I'll just close and load. It will create one for me. And now I have my data. So the next thing that I want to do is just highlight the data that I want to include. And because Excel is pretty smart, you usually don't have to even do that. We can just click anywhere in the data. It pretty much knows the range that it will include. And from the Insert tab, I want to check out our new Maps option. So we're going to look at this Fill to Map chart that can compare values across geographical regions. So we'll go ahead and choose this. We're going to give Excel a chance to show us some information here. And sometimes this isn't the most cooperative with me. So let's see if it wants to assist. I've had some issues with this crashing today, so maybe we can go back. Of course, something always goes wrong when you're trying to work with data, right? Or maybe it's just me. Okay. So I'm going to go back into my Power Query. Let's change this a little bit. I'll go data. I'm going to get data from my table. And I'm going to start with one I did previously. I was trying to switch this up a little bit, but perhaps I need to keep what I did before. So I'm going to keep box office in the mix, and I'm just going to include the distributor as well as the country. Don't want to remove that. Let's make sure I have everything. All right, so I'll remove my columns. I'm going to go ahead and, oh, I need to make sure I have my box office. Sorry, guys, it's been a day. I just moved, which is always exciting, but it's a lot of work too, right? All right. There we go. So I'm going to go ahead and close and load. Let's see if it will cooperate a little bit more with me now. So from the insert tab, I'm going to insert my maps. And it has picked up on my data. This could just be a matter of it not wanting to do it today. So anyway, I promise these are really cool when you can, maybe I just need to not have so many things going on today to have this to work properly. But all right, let's segue. Let's take a look at some of these new text functions. So we have a few that I think are primarily helpful if you work with a lot of data and you want to split the data into, you know, maybe you just need part of the data that's within a cell. You don't need everything. So, you know, we've been able to do this in different ways, but a lot of these new text functions are there to really make things simple for us. So the first one we're going to look at is going to be text before. So I want to get rid of, or I want to keep rather, the text before within the studio. So I can choose what my delimiter is. And to get started, I'm just going to select a cell to the right of the data that I want to split. And I'm going to go to my formulas tab and choose insert function, because I think it's always helpful when you're first working on these to be able to see all the different arguments of the formula. So we'll choose text before, we'll click go, it's found it, it tells us what it's all about. So we have the text that we want to get the data for, that will be before the delimiting characters, what our delimiter will be. And then we can go on to say, you know, if this is something that has to be absolute and if we want to add any match mode. So we'll check that out. So the first thing I'm going to do is choose the text that I want to look at. And let's say that I want to look at just this person's name, Director Steven Spielberg, and I just want to get his first name. So what I'm going to do is I want to add a delimiter that's a space. Now for instance number, it's going to say the desired occurrence of the delimiter. So the default is just going to be 1 and a negative number searches from the end. So I only have one space in this, so I can just leave it as the default. I don't even have to change anything. So this is going to search the text for a delimiter match, and by default, a case sensitive match is done. Now you can see that it already knows what the match mode is going to be. It's returning Steven without me even having to fill in these items. And anything that's not bold is actually optional. So we don't even have to include these so long as it understands, you know, our delimiter and we don't have multiple instances. We can even get a sneak peek and see, yes, this is working properly, and we can just go with those first two arguments. So it's a really quick and easy way of being able to do this. And as you can see, it actually filled it all the way down, all 365 columns. So there's another one that does something similar. This would be the text after. So maybe I want first name, last name, right? In this instance, I can just go in again. It'd be much faster if you just start, you know, typing in the information, but I'll show you step by step in case you haven't seen these before. So text after is very similar. Again, it's just the text that you want to pull the data from, the delimiter, how many times that delimiter happens, and then you can choose if you need a match mode or match end. All right, so the text is going to be in this one, the director, once again, our delimiter. So we want something, the text after something, but once again, the delimiter is the space. So I can just type space and it's going to pull the delimiter. So let's see. The instance number. So the desired occurrence of the delimiter, so the default is going to be 1, right? So if we put like a 2 in there, it's not going to help us in this instance. If we have a 1 here, it understands that this may occur more than once, but in this instance, we just have the 1 delimiter and we want Spielberg as our end result. We see that it's working as planned and we don't have to fill out any other information. So we have all of our text. Now there's an even faster way of doing this actually, and that's text split. So this formula is also new. We can go to the formulas tab, insert function, and let's check out what it's all about. So I'll just type text split and go. You can see it comes up and it has the same kind of argument. So pretty straightforward here. For the column that we want, it's asking the delimiter for that whole column. So you do have to have some consistency in your delimiter if you want it to split an entire column. And it's actually going to split it into 2 columns. So I can go ahead and select the first field, which will be Steven Spielberg there. For the column delimiter, I'll just put my space in there. And then for my row delimiter, it's going to be a character or string to split rows by. So you can see it understands here that it's going to be Steven and Spielberg. I'm not even going to have to put in a character or string to split rows by because it understands already what I'm doing. And I'm going to just go ahead and click OK. Oh. There we go. So we have my first one. I'm not sure why it didn't want to populate to the whole column, but we can always just do a quick pull down and you can see it's not only filling in the information for the first row, but also for our first column, but also for that second column as well. So there's some, middle names in there and things that are going into the third column as well. So this can be really helpful if you need to split your data into 3 groups, or even just 2. Okay, so I also wanted to show you how you can actually use OneNote for more than just simple notes. A lot of times you may want to be able to display certain amounts of data so that you're going to be able to collaborate with other people more effectively. So we're going to go ahead and make sure that this is a table. And I just like to do, the Control-Shift down arrow, Control-Shift right arrow. That just quickly and easily highlights all of the applicable text. I can go to Insert, and it looks like I already have a table. So if I want to change that, I can do that as well. I'll just go ahead and go to Table Design, and I'll resize my table. And I just want to make sure that I'm including all the way to the T column. But if I didn't have my my table, I'd just choose to insert the table. Yeah, maybe I won't make that part of my table. All right. This demo is going great today. Forgive me. Okay, so let's go into OneNote. Let's check it out. So we have data, right? And we want to make sure that we have information about this. Maybe we want to show someone an example of how we use these 3 formulas. So we're going to tell people, you can check out this table for more information, or maybe I could say, hey, what's going wrong with this table? Can you please help me? And all I have to do is go into insert, and I'm sure we're all familiar that we have the ability to insert, file attachments, file printouts, but I don't think that we always necessarily use them in this way. So I'm going to go ahead and choose an existing Excel spreadsheet, and I can see anything that's recent in my quick access, which I think is always nice. I could also just go and search based on what it is I'm looking for. So to do that, I'm just going to go ahead and type in the name of my Excel spreadsheet. And there it should be. I'm having some issues with my computer today. Okay, so I can attach the file, which is great. Other people will be able to get in and look at it, but I'm also able to just do a chart or a table. So if I actually want this displayed and visible, I can choose this option. And the nice thing is it's going to let me pick and choose between all the different items that I have in here so that I can really make sure that it's what I want to have inserted. So if I were to choose just the table, it's going to insert that. However, I always have the ability to edit it within this as well. So it's not just limited to having it searchable with it being inserted inside of my OneNote, but it's also allowing us to, as a team, whoever's working on this, edit it with me so that we are able to make sure that, we all understand these formulas and how we're going to work with them. So another thing that's very helpful about this is that maybe I need to assign this to somebody to work on it, right? You wouldn't necessarily think of doing all of this within OneNote, but we can. We can just go to the Home tab, go to our Outlook tasks, and choose custom. And I always like to choose custom because that's what gives me the full Outlook task capability. Now, currently it just says, whatever was on the line that I highlighted. I probably want to add something like practice text before formula. And then I'm going to want to assign this task as well. So I can choose assign task. I can put in here who that task is to. I can keep an updated copy of the task, and I can also get a status report when the task is complete. And the person who receives this task is also able to just one single click have that assigned to them. The beautiful thing about this is when this person, gets this, they're able to set a reminder for themselves or anything else that they may need to do to help them remember their task. And then I could send it on the way. Or if this is just for me, I can always just save this for myself and I'm ready to go. So those are some of my favorite things within Excel right now. I also wanted to show you one other thing that I think is really cool. And that is that we are able to create, it's my favorite rule that you can create. So what it is you are able to set a rule to defer your emails by 1 minute. So maybe I want to go to the File tab and manage my rules and alerts. I can see all my different rules here and I can create a new rule. And we're probably familiar with the rules wizard, but one of my favorites that you can start from a blank template on messages that you send is to be able to keep those emails in the outbox for a full minute before it sends. That way, if you forget something, you forgot the attachment, you want to correct how you spelled someone's name, whatever the case may be, you can go in, you can change that from the outbox. So you just open it right from the outbox, make your changes, and then you can send it on its way and, problem solved. So what we do is we just click next. I don't apply any conditions on this rule. I just apply it to every single email because it saved me lots of embarrassment over the many years. And I can go ahead and just click next again. It lets me know that that rule is going to be applied to every email that I send, and I'm good with that. So I'll say, yep, that's correct. So the action is going to be to defer delivery, and I can choose how long I want to defer delivery by. In this instance, I'm going to change the number And I just click the blue. I'm going to set it to 1 minute and I'll say okay, and then I'll go next. Now I can choose if there's any exceptions that I want to place to this rule. If there's someone who would be really impatient to wait 1 minute to receive an email, you might want to make an exception here, but I don't. I just click next. You can name it, defer by 1 minute so that you know which rule that is and you're not wondering what this is. And then you can just finish. So I'm not going to do that since I already have this rule, and it's definitely my go-to, my favorite. So I hope those tips and tricks were helpful for you. And does anybody have any questions?
Anybody have any questions, guys? No? Okay. All right. Sorry about that, Mica. I was sure someone would have a question. Okay, everybody's quiet tonight, so okay, the next person that's going to speak is Frank. So I'm going to let Frank start next. All right.
Okay,
Frank, the floor is yours.
I just share my screen. 1 second now. 1 second. Nothing coming up. Wait, hang on. So, slideshow.
Now we can see that, yeah.
You can see that there, yeah. Okay, so most of you know me by now from the journey to the cloud. This evening I'm going to do the Azure Event Hub. See there, I'm in the IT industry for over 20 years, for those who don't know me. I'm MCT certified, MCP and Azure expert. You see some of the certifications down the end of the screen there anyway. So what I'm going to do is an overview of what the Azure Event Hub is, and I'm going to do a demo then. The Azure Event Hub actually holds all devices for IoT, the Internet of Things. So you'll see as we go forward, I'll try not to make it too technical. So this is kind of the Event Hub. It captures all the data from all the different devices and stores them in Azure, and it actually sends out messages as well. Like we say, the Ring doorbell. I think Matt has one and I have one. So if somebody rings your doorbell, it sends a message through your Wi-Fi and out through Azure, and then it sends a message back to your phone. Then basically that's kind of it. It kind of collects data, sends it to the cloud, and then wherever device that wants to send it out to is set up inside there. So that's kind of basically what the Event Hub. You'll see it now more as I actually go and configure it in Azure and do the demo. So what is the Internet of Things? Loads of them, as you can see. Everybody has some of them in their, either in their home, your mobile phone. You like to see the smart house there that has all the different gadgets in your house. You can have a smart oven, smart cameras, everything, like, and they're all connected to the cloud. As you can see there, like even healthcare is using a lot of them there now for tracking people's heart rate. And I heard a story there recently of somebody in the States that they were kind of living 100 miles away from their medical center and they had a bad heart. So what they actually done, they gave them Apple have a thing, IoT device, that monitors the heart, and if it kind of went beyond a certain range, it could actually send a message back to the health center to the doctor, and the doctor could just pick up the phone and say, hey, we need to see you right away. So there's very, good uses of IoT today, like from even in retail industry. A good one there, like, is Caterpillar uses this kind of IoT device to monitor big engines on ships, turbines and things like that, and so you can imagine if there's a ship going, we say from the UK over to America, and something happens, it'll monitor the vibration of the engine and whatever. So when the ship docks, there's somebody there on the quay ready to come in and fix the thing, so there's no downturn in the supply chain. So IoT does all these kind of smart things, and we all know about the cars, the smart cars now, where they can kind of monitor if you're going to crash into something, it can tell you, that you're going off the road or something like that. So that's kind of what the IoT part is like. So the Event Hub manages all these devices. Just go on to the next one. So as I said there, some of the vendors that use the IoT, as I said, the Ring doorbell there. The other one then is a Philips light bulb, whereas you can just tone down the light from your phone, or you can actually use, we say, Alexa, turn down the light, or whatever, so these are all the IoT devices. The Belkin light switch, like you can, if you're going away on holidays or something and you want to turn the lights on or whatever, to let the burglars know that there's somebody at home. And Amazon is in on it as well with the dash button, so you'll never run out of toilet paper again. So we'll just go on to the demo. Sure. How's that?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so you can see this Raspberry Pi simulator as well, yeah? Okay, so here, the Azure portal, yeah, can everyone see that now?
Yes.
Okay, so there's a couple of ways you can launch this. So you can either type in IoT up on the top, and there you got the IoT hub. So I'm just going to click into it, and I'll start provisioning this thing now, because sometimes, you could be waiting, and then I'll pop over to the simulator and we'll get that going. So create the IoT hub. So this is an account that actually Matthew set me up on, Matthew Brown. So I'm just going to the resource group, an existing one there that's set up for me. So we'll leave that as that. So this name here, so we're just going to call it the IoT demo. Okay, so it's not going to leave us do that. So we put in journey to the cloud. So see on the end there, you get the unique, this has to be globally unique, the name, so is that you, nobody else will have it basically. So I'm in Ireland, so I'm going to put Northern Europe in here. That's where Ireland is. And we're going to click on create and review. And create. So this is going to kind of provision this thing there, so it will take a minute or two. So while that's doing, I'll just go over here just to kind of, this is the simulator. So when you go into look up GitHub Raspberry Pi simulator, and you'll find this page easy enough. And it gives you the steps here to the start. So the assembly area, as you can see there, then the coding area is number 2, and then the integrated console window. So when you get your code from the Azure portal, you come over here and you go into the coding section and you paste in your code then. So I'll just go back and see, is that provisioned? And seems to be still doing something. Yeah, so we'll just go back here anyway and we hit the next screen. As you can see there, it tells you even how to go into the Azure portal and set up the hub, the IoT hub. You see there the picture is sliding over there. And line 15 then is where you actually, when you get your code from the Azure portal, you come over here and you paste it in between the quotes. So I'm just going to click on that, got it. So as you can see here, there's the line 15 and we're going to put it in here in a second. So let's hope this is after doing its thing. So it's a bit slow tonight. So you can just see it flashing there. So when it comes up there, it'll actually show us our resources and then we're good to go. 2 seconds now. So what I'm going to do there is I'm just going to open the home screen again while we're waiting on that to do. Just check. Now see here, go to resources is up, so you know then it's provision. So we're going to click into that, and what we actually have to do now is create a device, one of those IoT devices that's going to give us the code. So we're going to click in here and hopefully this won't take too long. So we're going to add a device because there's none in there and the new name. So we'll go journey to the cloud IoT. And we'll see at the end here, we've got the tick mark, so we're good to go with that. So we'll just go save. And that one is done there anyway. So we device is still provisioning, I think. Here we go. So what we'll do is just click into that one, and these are the keys and the strings. So this primary connection there, we're just going to go over to the end. I'm going to copy that one, and we go back to our Raspberry Pi simulator, and up here on line 15. Second, I will just get rid of all this stuff here. And we're going to paste it in between the two ports. And so that's our code set up now. So you could, down in the bottom section then here, so we just click on run and hopefully we'll get it to the LED flashing up on the top. Yeah, so there we go. It worked. Some of these demos are kind of scary, like when you get something wrong. So that's basically us communicating through the Azure portal out to the simulator on GitHub with one single line of code. So it's not very complicated. So any questions?
Any questions, anyone?
Let's say, what's the cost for using Event Hub?
Yeah, I can just show you there now. It's if I just go back to that, you can still see my screen there, can't you?
Yes.
Yeah. So 1 second now. I'll just go home. I'll have to delete that now again in a minute. So click in here. We'll go create another one, and I'll just show you the management part. You see this part here now? It comes up first with the standard tier, okay? So it can give you 400,000 messages a day for 21 euros. Do you see that? But if you're only using something very simple, like we say a doorbell that's only going to use a few messages a day, this drop down window here, you go down to the free one, there's actually a free tier. It'll give you 8,000 messages a day for free. So I hope that's of help to you.
Nice, thank you.
That's brilliant, Frank. Thanks a million for that. Anybody have any more questions? No? Okay, all right. We're going to hear from our next presenter. That's Ryan Schultz. Ryan, the stage is yours.
Cool, let me get things situated here. Alrighty. So I get to talk about everybody's favorite tool, especially when we're talking about COVID era and pandemic and all that. So what I'm going to talk about is there's a lot of stuff that Microsoft has been a lot of focus they've been putting into the Teams platform. A lot of what I'm focusing my parts talking about today is the cool stuff that kind of works in context with like what we're doing here today. We're having this meeting, we're having all this stuff. And it's one of those things that adds a lot of really cool functionality to meetings, but there is a little bit of a cost to it. So what I'm talking about is Teams Premium. So a couple months ago at Microsoft Ignite, Microsoft announced what they're calling Teams Premium. And now this is not just a different subscription. This is an add-on to your existing subscription. And we get some really cool features. And we got a few of them listed here, and we'll talk about these. For example, we've got Intelligent Recap. We've got live translation, meeting guides, advanced webinars, and customized meeting branding. So when we're talking about Intelligent Recap, what this is Microsoft Teams is now using AI as part of your meeting. So for example, you could be in a status meeting and you're presenting your information about the current status, what's going on. And throughout your meeting, you have different people mentioning and talking about, hey, this is what's going on. This is what what we need to get done before our next status update, before our shareholder meeting. And as the meeting progresses, Teams is gathering up all this information. So all the tasks that come out of it, things that need to get done, things that people are talking about. So we have the captioning, we have a recap of what happened in the meeting, including what tasks came out of it. So this is not one of those, okay, somebody has to go back through and write everything down. This kind of gives you a nice quick way of being able to say, hey, even if you have somebody that's their job to make sure we have those details, this gives you the ability to go out and say, hey, did the AI do what I need it to? Yes. Okay, we're close. Make some slight adjustments. So it really takes a lot of time savings to enable that you don't have to go through and do all that. And you have the recap of what's in the meeting. So that way anybody can come back in and say, okay, what was talked about? What was the decisions we made? What actions came out of this meeting? And it's all available there for you. And it's as part of the tool in the details after the fact. Next one is live translations with captions. So this one is really kind of cool. So especially if you're talking about a multilingual organization. You could be in an area where your company has people spread across the world, but you don't have a professional translation team that's going to be going through and working on it as well. So what this does is, as part of your transcription, it will give your users the option here, as we have in the animation, that they can choose which language they want the subtitles in. So you can choose what language you're talking in, which I know I work with some organizations that in different countries that talk about they have meetings that I schedule as an English speaker, but yet the entire presentation and most of the meeting is done in Spanish, for example. So you can control the translation and the adjustments on it. And this really enables your organization to be able to be multinational and include everybody regardless of what language, so that they can watch the meeting and get the content in their native language. Now, you also want to keep in mind that as AI is, it's not perfect, but it is getting there. Most of the times I've experienced this, because this was a feature that got rolled out to Teams, but then decided they're going to pull it into Teams Premium. And so it is a really cool feature and it works really well. So I'm looking forward to this one. The other one is meeting guides. This is a way that if you've ever scheduled a meeting in Teams, if you want to pre-set up a lot of the apps that go into it, if you want to set up the settings of, okay, who can bypass the lobby, who comes in as a presenter, all of the things that you get on the meeting options, the meeting guides allows you to be able to take advantage of that functionality and create those guides or templates beforehand. So that way you can say, hey, these are the settings that we want, regardless of what's going on. So I can say, hey, if I'm having a webinar, I can set it up so that way it'll create it with all the correct settings. If I'm having a meeting where I'm meeting with a client, we can have the right settings in there so that way we can have automatic recording, we can have the transcriptions turned on, we can allow people to present. Or if you're doing a meeting like this where you're kind of sharing out with the public, you can say, okay, yeah, we'll let people in, we'll have chat disabled or enabled, disable cameras, all that stuff. So that way you don't have to wonder when you're creating your meeting and you're going into your meeting, did I forget to turn that on or off? This allows you to say, hey, just by the fact of when you're creating it, everything's done, everything's created, and you're off and rolling. So it's going to be a huge time savings for a lot of organizations, and for the companies I work with, it's a great thing, because now they don't have to worry, they don't have to guess if they've got things prepared and ready to roll. And speaking of webinars, Microsoft is adding in the ability for, and I'm hoping this also comes to Teams meetings as well, but what's called the green room. So what this is if you've done anything like GoToWebinar or the other competing tools, this allows you to have that same before you start. Make sure everybody's in there, so that way all of your presenters, like we have here today, all of them can come in and verify, okay, yep, can you hear me? Can you see me? Does everything work out okay? And this is all before the attendees see anything. So regardless of what's going on, what's being said, you can coordinate, work on your order, work on your pacing, and all of this is ready. And then when you're ready to go, you hit the nice big yellow button and say, okay, let's start the meeting. And this gives you the ability to prep and make sure things are ready. And then once you get into your meeting or into your webinar, they also have added in the ability of you having control over what is seen. Because a lot of times, like right now, if you're in a meeting, everybody that's in the meeting, especially if they're joining as a participant or presenter, if they have their camera on, they will be showing up on the screen, which is not always what you want. You want the ability to control and say, hey, in this instance here, we've got Charlotte, and we've got, well, we'll call him Ben. Ben is the one currently talking, doing presentation, whatever. And then you've got our overlays. But Charlotte is currently sitting here as off screen. So she is ready. That way we can inject her into the meeting when she's having a Q&A, or maybe we have a shared part of the discussion, or as part of the handoff. So you can control whose content is being displayed and how it gets displayed, instead of just, okay, well, we've got everybody, and then everybody that doesn't have their camera on, we just get the little circle with their initials on it. So it really gets you a lot of cool functionality to better control the experience of your users. And a lot of that's what the beauty of what Teams Premium is the ability to control the experience and controlling what people get to have and what their experience ends up being. Along those lines as well, talking about control, you can actually put in your own branding with your meetings. So if you're an organization that's very much, your brand is very important to you, you can include as part of your meeting lobby, for example, as people come and get set up. Right now, you just get a black screen. With Teams Premium set up, you can come in, you can put in your company logo, you can put in custom backgrounds, you have color schemes you can put in there, and all of this, regardless of how you're coming in, whether it's on the full desktop application or even on a mobile device, your brand is consistent and stays with you with that meeting. So it really allows you to be able to say, yep, people coming in, yep, this is the company, this is what I am expecting. Also, when we're talking about it, they've added in a lot of stuff that works in hand with the security that we've already got built into Microsoft 365. A couple of the features we have here, we've talked about the AI, so I can kind of keep track of things, but also we have the meeting protection with sensitivity labels. So this can automatically tie in. For example, if you're one of the customers with an E5, you can tie in and it'll automatically protect your meeting with the sensitivity labels and processes and tracking for your organization. Also, you can put as part of your meeting that there'll be a watermark on the meeting, so that way anything anybody grabs will also include that content in that watermark. As we're going through as well, we also have the confidentiality with more meeting options, so that you get a lot more security about who can come in and what happens, your end-to-end security and encryption. We get a lot of those controls that we're missing currently in a lot of the tools and the Teams application. A large, big question I see from a lot of people is, okay, what is this? So as was mentioned, it's not a new subscription, so it's something that you can add on. So, and Microsoft calls it as an add-on. So it adds on top of your existing Microsoft 365 license. The current announced cost is $10 per user per month. And the nice part is the only people that really need this add-on are those users that are actively scheduling meetings. And just because the organizer is the one that has to have the license, so we can take advantage of those features. So for example, if we want all the branding and all that, you could actually have it be licensed to your marketing department as part of your sales team, for example. They can have those licenses, and your regular users that are just interacting with other employees, they can go with a basic free license. They don't need the extra features that come along with this. So this is a way that you can kind of tailor and save some costs to get the functionality that you need for your organization. And while we're talking about it, there's a lot of things that Microsoft is working on. I don't have a slide for it, but for example, the Microsoft Mesh for Teams is one of those things that's really kind of cool, especially if you think about it. How much time do we spend per day sitting in meetings? A lot of us, I know it can be very tiring to be looking at a screen and have people looking at you all day long. I know in a lot of places we've got the virtual background, so we're trying to obfuscate somewhat the surroundings. But what the Mesh for Teams allows you to do is you can control and create various, I think up to 3 different avatars that actually can be set up in different ways. So your user can look like you as much as you want. So you can have a professional one, you can have a more casual, and it will follow your face. So you don't have to be wondering, okay, am I looking good? Is my hair good? Is my makeup all right? It doesn't matter because nobody else on the other end actually sees you. The AI built in within Teams will keep track, monitor your head movements, moving to the side, all that sort of stuff. So it looks like you. It doesn't quite do the full hand gestures, but it will keep track, and your head will follow what your head is doing. And you do have interactions and what are the words? Reactions, that's what I'm looking for, that you can put down there. So for example, you can have the whole heart icon. You can have a bunch of different reactions like, okay, I'm lost, or the mind blown. There's a lot of different things to make it unique and make it you without actually having to have your face be in front of everybody. So there's a lot of really cool things that's going into that, that Microsoft is seeing, hey, we realize people are getting tired of meetings. Meeting fatigue is a real thing, especially towards the end of the day. And this will enable a lot of people to be able to participate in meetings without concern and without the being as tired about, okay, I've got to be show worthy 100% of the time. And so it's some really cool stuff that's coming into the tools. Are there any questions at this point? Shut this off here.
Any questions? Anyone? No? I'm sorry, Ryan. Everybody's quiet tonight. I'd say they're just looking forward to Christmas now at this stage.
Yep, I get it. It's all good.